What is happening? AJ Gamer Dude here, and I'm going to be talking about how the day before definitely shut down the day after, and I want to give that joke to a comment that I saw on YouTube at some point. I just can't remember exactly where, but I borrowed that joke. Okay, the day before, highly anticipated survival game, and I don't understand why survival games exist, but it's probably because people are able to make their own imagination as far as the games go. But for an old hat like myself, I'd rather just, have like a properly structured actual like game to play through. I don't know. Give me an MMO over this thing any day of the week is what I'm trying to say. I mean, MMOs do have a certain structure, like as in a story. The day before doesn't seem to have anything of the sort, but that might be a very bad example because it is a terrible, buggy mess of a game that I've watched other people play. Thank goodness I never actually spent the money myself. And now the studio, Fantastic, is actually shutting down due to the game financially failing. Or rather, has financially failed. So after 4 days launching the game and making pretty much if I remember right, the refund rate was somewhere in the mid-40s, which is incredibly high for a game to be refunded. Yeah, to sell 200,000 copies and then to have like 90k of them be refunded. And it's interesting because like Fantastic also made the game Prop Night, which is a very multiplayer online heavy game. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not the servers for that game stay alive, whether the day before is going to stay. And I did watch Angry Joe's video on this, and he read a comment on when he was playing through the game for a bit. I don't remember if it was him or if it was some other YouTuber, but there was a comment about how they were playing through the game for a little bit, whatever chance they even had, really, and mentioned, someone said in the chat of the game, this game will be great when it gets patched up. And looking back at that comment now, it does make me hate patch culture so much more. So this what I'm talking about right now is less about the day before shutting down and more so the idea of how patch culture has polluted our minds into thinking that releasing a half-baked game is acceptable as long as it gets patched in the end, because the thing is that there is no guarantee that things will get patched in the end. Ultimately, the game may forever be stuck in that lifeless husk of a thing that we're supposed to be calling a game, something that is barely interactable, that is broken beyond belief. And then even if it were to get patched up, does that make it a better game? No, it doesn't. No Man's Sky is such a rare example of it being true that yes, you can patch in whatever the hell you want after the fact, but had the game been like that from the very beginning, you'd be lauded with Game of the Year awards and people just kind of constantly sharing like how great your game is, how much they love it, and just keep coming back to it if that is something that they're interested in. And as long as the content is there and constantly being spat out. But the thing is that there's so many games that are spitting out so much content that there are going to be failures in the face of an ever looming amount of or rather an ever abundance amount of choices, especially when so many of them are live services. And that's where a person can only have so much time to dedicate to so many games and for so much time. So I guess maybe I'm rattling on more now about the modern video game industry compared to say the fact that patch culture has ruined the release of games, and the fact that everything now needs to be patched from beginning to end in order for it to even be functional anymore. The fact that there's so many live services that's not even funny, and on top of that, live services mainly exist to keep you in their game rather than letting you go to other people's games, because if you don't go to those other people's games, then their games are going to go under if you're not playing it. So ultimately, studios can then say, we couldn't keep the game running because people weren't playing it and we were losing money, therefore we couldn't keep it up, so we're just gonna shut down completely. And the fact that like this then leads into a conversation about video game preservation, the fact that games do not last forever, sure, but at least we can try and preserve them. But if it's an online only game that is a battle royale or just whatever it may be, like there's so many online only games that now no longer exist, and we can never go back and replay them. We can't touch them anymore because it just is not viable. It's not possible. That official support is gone. We can try and make fan servers all we like, or fan run servers, but at the end of the day, like nothing will ever compare to that, having that official support from the actual team that made that game. Nothing is forever, and that sucks, unfortunately. But it's the way of the world and things like that. So I feel like I've just kind of been going on and on about a few different things, whether it be, again, like, you know, patch culture, live services, the fact that games die if you're not constantly logging in and playing them. And then when we look at, say, something like Destiny, it has now essentially pissed off quite a lot of its audience, because it made some updates that... It made a hell of a lot of updates that essentially now make it look like more of a money-grubbing company, and they're kind of also under the heel of PlayStation, that PlayStation may in fact take over the studio completely if they're not able to, you know, make a financial turn on their revenue. And that kind of sucks, because now it's more about making money than it is about making games. So ultimately, I think that's probably what it really... Well, I mean, no kidding, that's what it ultimately comes down to, but I figured that it was worth saying aloud if no one else is wanting to. But yeah, that was, I guess, kind of my rambling thoughts on the day before, a little bit about patch culture, a little bit about the modern video game industry, a little bit about live services, and a little bit about anything else. Yeah, this is the ravings of a lunatic. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, because I am aiming for 100 subs by the end of the year, and I do want my videos to go out to more people, since I think when I ramble on these sorts of videos, it barely gets much in the way of viewership. So yeah, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, with all of that said and done, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.